So welcome back to another episode, and this is an interesting episode for me. It really is, because it shows me something that I've kind of failed with the show. I have, and I'm not being too dramatic. I always want to talk about games that I love, that I think are really interesting, and give recommendations to a lot of you out there. And this game completely missed me. And what's frustrating is I saw this game mentioned on like a PlayStation announcement at one point, and I was like, oh, look at that. And then it just disappears from my head. It goes completely under my radar, and I completely missed it until this last weekend. And I'm frustrated. I am, because you realize why I'm frustrated. This is so my style of game, and this is so the style of game that I like to recommend to all of you out there. We'll get into it. So, I had Rob over last week, and we did the Resident Evil video, and that was a lot of fun. But during that, just before that, we went off to Press Start Video Games, a local video game store run by my friend Russell there. And while we were there, we're looking at all sorts of stuff, talking for a good like 30 to 40 minutes. And just as we're leaving, Russell says to us, hey, because he knows me and Rob, and he knows the style of games that we're into, have you guys played this game? And we're like, oh, what is it? And so we went around to his monitor in there, and he showed us this game, and I'm like, oh, and me and Rob both went, oh my God, this is so our thing. This is so our game. And he's like, yeah, he goes, you guys haven't played it? We're like, no. And I'm like, I remember seeing this a bunch of years back, and that's what's frustrating. This game was released in 2020. Okay, we're 2 years later, I finally discover it, and I know so many of you have played this game. And it's really interesting, I do check my Twitter once in a while, and I honestly didn't see any mentions of this game to me. It's one of those things that did completely miss me. And I think everybody was kind of saying, oh, he must be playing this game. How could he not do it? Okay, I'm gonna get to the game. I honestly, I saw the trailer that Russell played for me. I'm like, it's a must-buy game. Like an instant, like not even a thought process. So I ordered it off Amazon, it showed up, and I've been playing it, and I absolutely love this game, and I'm gonna get into all the reasons why. The game is Huntdown. Have any of you guys played this? It's by Easy Trigger Games. I don't even know this company at all. But I mean, the cover's pretty cool, very kind of 80s action going on. But the game. I've had some games recommended to me, and I've been so thankful that they were, like Panzer Paladin. I was so happy to be recommended Panzer Paladin and discovered that game. That game is incredible stuff. This game takes me back to the good old days, and I'm gonna say something here. This is for me personally. The game reminds me of the beautiful pixel art of Snatcher, and I really want to bring out Snatcher here, and of another game that I used to like on the Neo Geo, Cyberlip. Do any of you guys remember that? So yeah, what Huntdown is a side view action game set in like a cyberpunk future. Why is the game so good? Let's just get the soundtrack out of the way so I can get into all the gameplay. The soundtrack is so 80s synth. And it's not just that it's 80s synth, it's reminiscent of like Terminator and all the 80s style movies that we grew up with, that we loved to death back then. The atmosphere is created by the music as the foundation, and it does a stellar job. I mean, I'm gonna hunt down the soundtrack and hopefully pick it up. If there is a soundtrack available on CD or even on vinyl, would be incredible, because I'm that sold. I was sold on Panzer Paladin's soundtrack. I'm absolutely sold on this soundtrack alone. Really love the music. Perfectly fitting.
Stash collected.
But as soon as I started the game, it gives you a little bit of a backstory of, the future city and the mega corporations taking over, and you're a freedom fighter fighting against the corporations.
But there are some that have no interest in gang affiliations nor company citizenship. They only pledge allegiance to the highest bidder. Their title, Bounty Hunter.
I always love that stuff. That is so 80s movies, and that's the thing. I'm going to get back to it again. This entire game is a love letter to the 80s and every single thing you liked about the 80s in the style of movies. So we got RoboCop going on in there. We got Terminator going on in there. Total Recall, The Running Man. You know, just the punk look of everybody as well. Beautifully done, and the graphics are a pixel work from the gods. It really is. It's so beautiful. The animation is so good. And the gameplay is perfect. It's a run and gun. It's a platforming game. You get different weapons. You get grenades. You get rocket launchers, shotguns. You get health you can replenish by hopping to different levels, fighting bosses, wave after wave of enemies coming to you. That is the one thing. The game is very stereotypical in what it is, right? So it's not breaking the mold. It's not. It's not at all. But with this style of game, for me personally, it doesn't need to break the mold. It's giving me all the things that I love from the past, but man, it's that love letter. It's that love letter in every single moment, and you can tell I'm quite enthusiastic about this. And you know, the other thing is, it's kind of fun. I heard about this game, right, from Ross, and I'm like, I came home, I ordered my copy, and I talked to my friend Jay, and I said, dude, you gotta check out a trailer for this game. He bought it. His game came before me. And he's like, oh my God, this game is great. So I was already recommending it before I'd even played it. And it was satisfying other people as well. So what do you guys think of Huntdown? A lot of you have been playing it for the last 2 years. You're going, John, how did you miss this game? And I don't know. But, you know, once in a while, it is fun to completely miss something that you love. You know, a game that you're gonna love. And it goes whoop under the radar, and then you have friends recommending it. And that's the kinds of games I like to play, are friend recommendation games. And then you go home and you're like, yep, I absolutely love this. You know, there's all sorts of little things in this game that I really like the Johnny Cabs. You know, there's kind of like a Johnny Cab that comes, replenishes your health.
Checkpoint.
Pony Surgery and Repair Service standing by.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety in the stages, in the characters. I like all that stuff. Of course, a lot of neon going on in the city. But the one thing that brings this to another level is the inclusion of co-op. Yes, you can play with your friend, your partner, anybody you want on the couch and play a great two-player game. And I love the cover fire, so if you have an enemy shooting at you, you can duck back into a doorway, then go back out and shoot. I like that mechanic in there. I think that's a lot of fun. I like the bosses. I like the voices. And there's so much going on in here that you honestly have to play the game to experience it. And I have nothing to do with this company. I've never talked to them in any way. This is, again, a recommendation for me that I think for anybody who loves 80s movies, 80s music, in any regard to the synth stuff, you're really going to love this, especially if you love games like Cyberlip and Snatcher and that style of pixelated artwork. It is gorgeous, and I love it, and I mean, it's every single reason why I got into video gaming was for the look of the pixel art, and it's beautiful to see that the pixel art is still alive and well in 2022 with games like Huntdown and other games like Panzer Paladin that are smaller releases. They're not like triple A's by, you know, mega corporations, you know, kind of coding the game kind of thing, which is kind of fun. No, they're little games that come out and they find an audience from people like me spreading the word. And I play this game and I'm like, I gotta spread the gospel of Huntdown because it's really that good. And I want to applaud you know, everybody who's involved in making the game. I think you've done a really good job. You nailed it. You nailed it. And I'm a person from the 80s coming in saying, you nailed it. And what's so crazy is if I had played this game in 2020 when it originally came out, I would have made it part of my list for games of the year. So that's why I want to come in today and give it its due, give it its light, because it deserves it. Guys, I just wanted to come in and talk about a little game I've been playing called Huntdown. So anyways, guys, until next time.